Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ahmed Hanan and the CEO at Documentive. Just a quick introduction about myself. We do operate in document management space and in process automation solution. We have been in this business for over 10 years. Myself, I've been in finance. I've been a director of finance and CFO as well as my background is engineering. So I'm very passionate about this topic, and I'm happy to share some of my experiences and some of the best practices today with you. Just before starting, this session will be recorded. Hopefully you're okay with that from a privacy perspective. Also, we will share this slide. Whatever we talk about today, we're going to share the recorded session as well as the slides with you. I think we have some people who are showing up. They're going to be joining us late, but we will share all the materials with them as well. So, and at the end of this webinar, we're going to open it up for questions, and hopefully we can have a dialogue about your situation, about some of those. Is there any benefit of those technologies or those solutions in your organization? What we're going to also look at the end is some of these technologies are free. Some of them have a price as well. But we're going to see that both, and you can choose, and you can pick and choose which one that works best for you. Okay. So here's what we're going to talk about today. Some of the processes, current challenges in not-for-profit. You're probably very familiar with them, but we're going to touch base on that as well. We're going to look at some of the solution for not-for-profit. Today's session is about non-for-profits. So we're going to look at account payable automation. We're going to look at expense claims management from a finance perspective. We're going to look at, in a general sense, robotic process automation. This is a solution by Microsoft, by the way. The first two that we have been in this space, it's our own solution, the account payable and the expense claims management. We're going to also look at document management as well. And we're going to also, I'm going to show a reporting using Power BI as a reporting tool as well, because I understand the mandate for a lot of non-for-profit and some of the requirements from a reporting perspective, whether it's to the board, to the senior team, funding sources, and so on. And we're going to try to answer the question how and where to start at the end, and we're going to open it up for questions. Okay. Some of the key processes in not-for-profits, as you know, you have any non-for-profits organization has, I would call them this structure from a governance perspective. You have a board, you have an executive and senior team, and you have other stakeholders as well. So we have a central administration, which includes most likely finance, IT, HR, and so on. But you have the core of the business is the programs. And the programs can be services, can be product, they can be program A, and it's very specific, and what we call a very dedicated program. From a funding perspective, you most likely get in funding with either restricted funding, and what we call restricted funding is a funding dedicated for a specific program, a specific service. You also have, obviously, policies that you have to comply with. You have mandate that you have to report on, and you have stakeholders that have different type of requirement. As an outcome of this process, you're going to have, obviously, you have client to serve. You have reporting, all those stakeholders that I mentioned before, whether it's the board, whether it's the senior team, they have reporting requirements, whether it's funding sources as well. You have one of the key areas that's there's a lot of focus lately on is what we call operational efficiency. And you have obviously employees and partners that allow you to serve the mandate, allow you to actually accomplish what you're organized for. Today, we're going to see some of those, how those technologies will help from an operational efficiency perspective. So some of the challenges, a key concept that's showing up more and more lately is what we call devolution. Devolution is basically you're seeing most likely from a private funding sources are drying up and the cut in some of the funding programs, whether it's a government funding program or private funding programs. Those funding sources are getting very competitive. You have to be very competitive for them, and some of them are even being reduced as well. That's what we call devolution. What we have seen, we worked with several, I myself worked with several non-for-profit organizations, and I've seen a lot of times, 9 out of 10, I've seen a lot of complex manual processes that have to be managed, and typically that requires a lot of data keying, requires a lot of. Recently, I was working with the customers with the pandemic, obviously, and when you have an approval, they print out checks, and that check. So there's one person who drives to one location to the person's house to get the check signed. There is a double signature, so that same person signed the checks and has to drive to another location to get those checks signed. Then somebody else is going to pick them up and get them distributed. That's a very manual, very convoluted process. That's an example of processes that are very manual and complex. Documents, especially with the pandemic, being able to work from home, access to your documents and information is key. And that's something we're going to look at today. So what you're going to see today from those issues and challenges that we're going to tackle is, number one, complex and manual processes. That's something we're going to look at and we're going to talk about. The second one is from how to achieve excellence from search enabled with the ability to find information easily and how to access your your document that are archived. And the third one is the training. In my opinion, that's something very critical. And not only one-shot training, but rather sustained training or continuous training. That's something that's required for staff in non-for-profit. I have done quite a bit of training with folks in not-for-profits, with its ERP accounting system training like Dynamics 365 or budgeting training 101, type of stuff. Those are very valuable and very helpful for organization, for not-for-profit organization. Another challenge that you probably seen in a little time, a little money. That's something we'll touch on. Not a lot of time, not a lot of money. But those are the three things we're going to focus on. The processes, being able to access documents and information easily, and how to sustain training for folks in not-for-profit organizations. Okay, so when we try to target the reducing paperwork complexity, and that ties up to what I was talking about from a process and document management. So here are some examples I've seen. Managing funding schedules. When you have funding sources, each of the funding source has a schedule, has an agreement, and managing those sometimes is tricky because when you're trying to do your budget, you have different schedules, you have to put them in your budget. Finding those schedules sometimes is centralized in an office. With COVID now, being able to access those documents is generally very difficult. So you have to scan them, or somebody has to scan them or transfer that data to you, that document to you. Expense claims that I've seen something very common in not-for-profit. You have an employee who provides a service, or he's doing a task, and he's incurring or she's incurring expenses, and those expenses have to be managed, have to be approved, have to be validated, and have to be accounted for from an accounting system. That's also very heavy manual process. Key and data in systems, I mean, typical, like you get invoices, you get receipts, and from an AP perspective, from an account payable perspective, those invoices have to be keyed in the system. And I've seen a lot of folks are still keying in the data manually, where in fact there are technology that can help you with that. And namely, that's something I'm talking about is is what we call OCR technology that allow you to extract data directly from invoices without having to key that manually. Sorting document, that's also very heavy. Preparing report, putting a report together, and I've seen a lot of organizations still relying on Excel. So basically, they have an accounting system. They go and export the data, and they can start massaging it and generating the report in Excel, where most systems currently do provide you can, with that ability to generate the report. And that's something I'm going to talk about is Power BI. Today is a very powerful tool by Microsoft. In fact, the desktop version is free, so you can choose it, you can try it. And if you need something more advanced, that's something you just need a little bit of training, and you can leverage that tool. Managing budget, that's something also very heavy, and that's something generally manage well with an accounting system. It depends which accounting system, and we're going to open that discussion at the end to see what can be done with your accounting system. And I myself very familiar with a bunch of them, so I'm happy to share my knowledge, and I'm happy to share some of the experiences I had in those systems. Okay, two types of solution we're going to look at. Let's look at document management, or what we call it DMS, or what we call it, other people call it enterprise content management. In a nutshell, what it is, it's managing your documents and information electronically and be able to access that information anywhere you are, whether at home, whether traveling, whatever, 24/7. And that's the idea. The idea is not relying on a physical space to access information, but rather be able to access that information quickly, easily, and anywhere you are. And I'm going to show you a quick solution about that. There is what we call also business process management, or what we call robotic process automation. That's a second tool that's in the private sector, and even as a matter of fact, in non-for-profit in the state, it's getting a lot of traction. It's actually the trending tool now, robotic process automation. Robotic automation is basically anything that's manual. It can be automated using robotic process automation. Okay. And I mean, if you're downloading files and uploading them in a platform for funding, that can be automated. If you're keying data, that can be automated. If you're uploading document or files or CSV or Excel files in your accounting system, that can be automated. If you're even sending notification, that can be automated using robotic process automation. And I'm going to show you some of the examples. Okay. Okay, so document management. Document management, you obviously get in document. Any business or any organization is relying on document, whether it's from funding, whether it's reports from your employees, whether it's expense claims, whether it's AP invoices, whether it's purchase orders. Those documents, you need them at your fingertips, especially if you're trying to work for a remote or we're going to also look at workflow management. Workflow is meaning I want to flow a check signature from one person to another. I want to flow that contract that has been signed by one person, and then after that it goes to another person, and I would like to sign that electronically. The workflow management allow you to do so, and reporting as well. So let me just show you quickly what I'm talking about. So I just want to make it, when I do speak about this topic, so really I do want to make it very tangible so you can see what those are examples. They're just meant for you to be example, not to promote a solution or whatever, but I'm just sharing those examples. So if I go in here, let me show, so let's say that's one example of documents management. So let's say you're at home or you're somewhere else. So when you can in here, you can just type in here, and when you type the document, the name of the document will show up, and you get to see the document. This is an access that's basically for anybody who has access to the solution. That document shows up, all the data behind that document, like this is captured what we call an OCR solution. And I'm going to show you an example from an AP perspective. You can see this document. You can see this is in French. Let me just switch it to English. And this documents, obviously, it can be, remember earlier I spoke about workflows. It can be signed, it can be approved by, like in this case, I have 3 folks that are involved in the workflow. And this is what we call, so the first person has approved this, has looked at it, has approved it. The second person, Keith, like Maria, has approved it. Keith has not signed it yet, it's still in progress. And the third person has not looked at it either. So that's a typical example of workflows. Application of this is, like I mentioned, the checks, I mentioned contract, I mentioned purchase orders. Those are all documents that can flow from one person to another, and the workflow engine allows you to sign those documents, to approve them, to review them, and even to sign them electronically. So if you have a signature. One of the key functionalities about document management is the ability to find data very quickly. So you can see here, as soon as you start typing on the top right, that document will show up. So, and when you show up, so you can share this document, whether it's with for internal purposes or external purposes, like a funding source or the government reporting or whatever. You can also have a full audit trail from an audit perspective, so you can see all the changes that were made to this document, who downloaded it, who modified it, and so on. And if you have archived documents, you can even go back to archived versions and restore them if you want. That's an example of VMS. The intent today, if you do want to see something more information about specific topic, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to share that information with you. Today's session is just meant to be very light, to expose you to some of those solution technologies and the tools that can help you. And like I said before, some of these tools are free, some of them you have to pay for, obviously, but feel free to reach out to us, and we will be happy to direct you to the right whatever, to help you select whatever is good for you. So I'm going to go back to the present PowerPoint presentation, just to carry on what we talked about. So that's from the document perspective. We talked about workflow, robotic process automation. So for robotic process automation, both of these tools help you reduce the reliance on paperwork. So you can access your document quickly, but also what you do with that document. You want to sign it, we want to share it with an external source or internal source, you can do that. So the other cool things about it is you don't have, most likely, so if you have a person who's sorting documents, you're getting those documents, you're sorting them, you're basically sorting them, meaning it says, oh, okay, this is a PO, this is a letter that should go for Kevin, that should go to Kevin, this contract should go to Danielle, that type of stuff. That type of sorting document can be also automated using technology, and I'm going to show you some of those as well. You can also tag files or create folders automatically. So, so one of the examples of that is AP, account payable. We typically get a lot of invoices, and we typically have to key those invoices in the system. So what you want to do from an AP perspective, which is the key benefit for an AP automation. So eliminate or remove any manual data entry, which is keying in systems. As you know, we're humans. When we key in stuff, sometimes we make errors, and that's normal. You want to reduce that error rate, or at least get rid of those error rates. Another thing is, when you manage your AP process, it allows you to be able to reduce the lead time or the processing time of that invoice. If handling an invoice would, in general, in a manual process, take you a few days, using the system, usually it's like a few hours or even minutes. And when you have that time, when you reduce the lead time, it allows you, and I'm not sure if you have vendors some of the vendors do offer early payment discount, meaning if you pay, let's say you have a 30 days terms of payment and you've managed to pay within 10 days, some of the vendors, in order to increase their cash flow situation, they do offer discounts, which means they offer you a 2% or whatever if you pay within the 10 days, the first 10 days. And an AP automation, by reducing the processing time, allows you to do so. Obviously, you can manage, you're going to master your expenses, your process. You can eliminate miscommunication, because one of the stats I have seen before is saying that between 20 to 30% of time from an AP perspective goes to handle requests and answer a question, where's this invoice, and trying to find the invoice and key in data. That's a lot. You can imagine 20 to 30% of your time is going that way. That's very non-productive, and that time can be saved. Typically, the question I get a lot is this, well, I can reduce FTEs. To be quite honest, that's not the intent. My personal experience in finance, for example, is not about reducing FTEs, but rather being able to train my resources and dedicate them to do value-adding stuff. So the analysis part of the account, of your income statement, balance sheet, and helping making the decision process, and that's more value-adding task. Obviously, you can have prevent compliance risks and issues. And the last thing, but not the least, is having increased visibility over your expenses. So let me go back to the AP side. I'm just going to show you how the AP side works. I'm just going to show you. So in AP, you're probably seeing my screen for AP. That's the solution. So you get invoices coming in. So you have different type of invoices coming in. These invoices can come in from an email. So you get your invoices coming from an email for a vendor. You get your invoices coming from a PDF, from image, whatever it is, or from a scanner if you get the email. If you still get invoices coming in via like couriers to your office space, in that sense, you will have to scan them. And the scanner, the technology, basically what it does is going to capture those invoices. It's going to extract the data for you. This is what you see in green in here. It's basically extracted in an automated way. It's not a human being that's keying that data, but that data can be extracted automatically. And when the data is extracted, you can verify it. The software can verify it as well. And also can even name the document automatically for you. So you don't have to sort, that's what I was talking about. We don't have to sort the document manually. So the software has the ability to sort document, to name them, and to put them in the right folder for you in the right structure. So it's easily manageable. You can easily find it afterward. And you can even do what we call, you can even prepare the accounting entry for your accounting software. And this data, it can be transferred to your accounting software using the different tools that we're going to talk about later. So basically you get from an AP example, you get the invoice, you capture the data, the software extracts the data, the software verifies it, and send it to approval if you have some criteria for approval within your organization. And then after that, when it's approved, it goes to your accounting software. This will save you a lot of time. The compliance risks, you will save. And those are technologies that do now are very common in the marketplace. And you can, and if you need more information about them, please feel free to reach out to us. That's an example of AP that I want to show you. I will open the discussion later for if you have any questions. Okay. Okay. So we talked about this. So another tool is so basically just why I showed just a quick between Rocket. One of the things I want to the first one I showed you, the document management. It's our solution. We're a software company. We developed that solution. The data capture, the piece for the AP side, that's our solution as well. But I'm also showing you another type of solution that we distribute and we work with as well is, for example, Microsoft solution. And those are my favorites in Microsoft's product line. One of them is called Power Automate. The Power Automate, remember I spoke about the workflows and flowing document from one person to another. Power Automate takes it to another level. So really push it higher. And what it does is anything that's tasked. So for me, when I was doing finance, sometimes I take files, I have an external or internal vendor stakeholder, and I have to send those files to. From account receivables, I have issue invoices, and those invoices I want to set up reminders for myself to if that invoice is not paid. I have a checklist of transactions to be done from a finance perspective. From a from funding perspective, I have a set of things I need to upload into the system, whether it's a CRM, whether it's a finance software. Power Automate allows you to do that. Anything that's manual and that can be done by Power Automate. The beauty of it is Power Automate comes with hundreds and hundreds of connectors and hundreds of templates. You're not starting from scratch. And by the way, there is a free version. You can try it. You can just go to Microsoft and download Power Automate, and you can start getting started with those. And if you need training, if you need any information, we'll be happy to share that information with you. So it's a powerful tool. Myself, I have it on my desktop, and I use it for any mundane manual task, and it just goes and do it. I mean, including sending emails. Sometimes if I have a reminder to be sent, I set it up in Power Automate and it's done. So that's a very, very powerful tool. You can have more advanced tools in it with advanced functionalities. Like, for example, if you are familiar with macros in Excel, so you know how macros work. Sometimes you have to record that macro. That macro will redo. If you have a task that you're doing multiple times, you record that macro, and Excel will do that macro. When you launch it, you will do that task again. So Power Automate has that functionality as well. So you can record a flow, and it will repeat it for you without any manual intervention. It does have, and for the more advanced version, it does have AI functionality as well. So it uses artificial intelligence, and it's a very advanced solution. So that's something I would highly recommend it. It's a low code, so you don't need to know the code. I mean, you just need to learn the product, and you can start using it. And like I said before, there is a desktop version for personal. You can use it, you can try it. And if you have a question, feel free to reach out to us, okay? Another example, which is I've seen in not-for-profits a lot of reports requirements. A lot of people are doing reports in Excel. So in this one, again, there is a free version, and it's a Microsoft solution, Power BI. You probably heard of it. It's very easy, and it's extremely powerful solution. So you have a data, whether that data in Excel, whether it's in your accounting system, whether it's in your CRM, whether it's a database. You just click the link, and you can generate your dashboard. It does require training, obviously, because it's very advanced. But here's a few functionality what I like about Power BI. Power BI allows you to link to any type of system. You don't have to have a system from Microsoft to be able to link to it. So you can link to an Excel, a database, or a SQL database, and you can start playing with your data and generate a report. You can combine sources of data from your finance, operational, and generate some really cool dashboard and key performance indicators. And another functionality about Power BI, there is a mobile version as well. I mean, let's say your senior team requires a set of reports, you can design those in Power BI, and you can share that as soon as you publish and you share that information, they go using their mobile, and they can access that information. So if you're still using it's taking a lot of time for your reporting tools or putting reports together, Power BI is definitely a tool to explore. What else? Okay, so those are basically those are the solutions. So let me just quickly do a summary for what we talked about. I showed you document management piece, the documents, how to find document easily, and how to access them electronically from anywhere. I showed you the workflow engine, which is how to flow documents for signature from one person to another. And I also showed you the robotic process automation, which allows you to automate any manual tasks. And also I showed you the Power BI, just spoke a little bit about it. I showed you what can you do with it, whether it's a report for the senior team, for funding source, or for the government. And another thing I want to show you before I jump into this, I just omitted this one. I want to show you. So there is another solution that we call the Form 360 that allows you to handle any expenses claims. So let's say I am an employee of your organization. I am working with a customer and I incurred some cost, whether it's a travel cost, whether it's an invoice, whether it's something I bought for the customer, whatever it is, whatever your operation is. Typically, people will start gathering those invoices, receipts, then after that, they send them via email. Somebody has to sort those documents. Somebody has to approve them. You can avoid all of that using what we call the Form 360, which is it's a mobile friendly. The person will take a snap, you can have an invoice, take a capture of that invoice, hit send, and it will show up. You apply the OCR where I was talking about the data extraction. You can submit it to a workflow. It gets validated, like let's say by the manager of that person plus the accounting manager. Then after that, you can transfer those data and document to accounting, and that all of that process that usually takes time from writing emails, gathering documents, sorting them, approving them, all of that can be automated using solution. And the best of it is everything is electronic, so you don't have to rely on paper-based anymore. So those are examples of technologies that are solution for the non-for-profit. Again, today's session was meant to be light and just to expose you to them, some of those tools. But if you do need more details, we're happy to share that information with you. So where to start? So that gets me where to start. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation and where to start. So we have typically, I do recommend to not target to do everything at the same time. Obviously, every organization has its own specific need and situation, and even technology implementation or the technology being used by a specific organization and not. I mean, each organization has its own technologies, so its own challenge and its own structure. Okay, so what I typically recommend is not start with everything. Identify the low-hanging fruits where there is manual risk, manual data, a lot of manual work, where you're currently encountering errors or have risks, or time issues. Sometimes if a process takes a lot of time and you're not managing to meet your deadlines, so those are areas that I would consider for as a first project to embark on, to target using those solutions. So if you have manuals, you have tasks, or you have errors, you have risks, or time issues, and I would definitely choose a pilot area. The advantage of having one pilot area is you're basically getting your energy focused on one area. That first. Second, it allows you to showcase the benefits of that to both your team, senior team, and to your employees, because part of any technology onboarding is basically engagement of your employees, because the change management is part of any type of project. So when you have a one pilot project, you basically allow folks to see the benefits, and when they see the benefits, you're onboarding them and getting their engagement and getting their buy-in. It's a lot easier when they see the benefit. Another thing is choose the right solution, choose the right partner as well. I mean, because and that's the piece that I wanted to speak about as well. So from a training perspective, I've been amazed with the people I worked with in not-for-profit. I mean, they're very talented. They have a lot of eagerness to learn. But again, I mean, the role of the organization is to provide them with that training material, with those resources needed. So that links to what I was saying, is choose the right partner, which is somebody who not only implement a solution and disappear, and I've seen that, unfortunately. I mean, a lot of people are into the midst of just implementing the solution, and it's a project for them. And when that project, with an accounting system or CRM, when that project is over, you move to another one. But rather, you want somebody who's going to coach you, support you until you get all the required skills, but also allow you to have all the access to all the documentation and a continuous training for your staff. And that's very, very, very important for any organization. Again, if you have any question, we're happy to share our knowledge. We're happy to share our experiences. Please feel free to reach out to us. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and just going to open it for any questions and if you or feedback, or I would like to learn about your situation. I would like to learn about your organization, what you guys are doing. If anything, what's the value of this? Do you think that there is any value of those tools or technologies in your organization? We do provide a free consultation in case you need it, so happy to chat more, okay? Thank you, and hopefully we hear back from you soon, and otherwise, have a great day. Thank you.